open a BuffaLouie's. And when I found that out, I was like, my God, we got to do everything we can to help this guy. This is just too beautiful.
But when you're just getting going, it's you. Like, you have to breathe this thing into existence.
I didn't want to get in the restaurant business. I wanted to get in the BuffaLouie's business, a standard in Bloomington that I have fallen in love with.
Like, this is a brand that's been around since 1987, was one location for almost 20 years. Is it a lot of pressure? From South Bend to Evansville and everywhere in between, this is Get In, the show focused on the Hoosier State and the incredible stories happening here today. I'm Nate Spengel, founder of Get Indiana, and I will be your host for today's conversation. GetIndiana.com is your one-stop shop for everything Indiana, from festival and event guides to blog posts covering hidden gems, local businesses, small towns, and more. Check it out and learn something new about the Hoosier State at GetIndiana.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our weekly newsletter right there at the top. My guest today, first off, we have Ed Schwartzman. Ed is the co-owner of BuffaLouie's in Bloomington. He has run the restaurant with his wife, Jamie, since 2011. He is known for embedding community-minded values into the business, supporting local causes in Bloomington, and just being an all-around hilarious individual. We've had 20 minutes here so far, and I'm really excited to dive into this. I'm also joined by Nick Williams. Nick is an Indiana University alum and former part-time BuffaLouie's employee who has risen to become the managing partner of the new Carmel location. He's bringing an insider's perspective on expanding a beloved local brand to the broader Indianapolis region. Today we're going to talk about Ed's journey that took him from Lake County down to Bloomington to get into the restaurant biz. We're going to talk about the evolution of BuffaLouie's and how it became an institution to Indiana Hoosiers everywhere. And we're going to talk about the expansion into Carmel and some of the fun things you guys are doing, maybe with this really good football team that people might have heard of before. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanto you, Nate.
Yes, thanks.
What an intro. Wow.
Come on
I think
now.
we should just cut and say that's a wrap.
There it is. I mean, if there's one thing, you gotta just hook them in the first 60 seconds of the podcast. Now they're locked in, and we're going to learn all things BuffaLouie's. The interesting piece is, neither of you are the original founder of BuffaLouie's.
That is correct.
Who originally founded the restaurant?
So unlike the movie The Founder, which you might have seen with Michael Keaton, where he pretends to be the founder, a lot of people think I am the founder, but I am not. I'm very proud to say that my wife and I saw a great opportunity, and we bought the business from a gentleman named Jay Leeser. Jay and his family moved from Buffalo, where chicken wings obviously originated. You might have heard of the Anchor Bar. And they moved from Buffalo to Munster, Indiana in the mid to late 80s. Jay came to school down here at IU, and he saw an opportunity in the market. There was no chicken wings, and they opened up a hole-in-the-wall restaurant on 17th Street in Bloomington called BuffaLouie's. Lou is Jay's grandfather. His name was Lou. He's from Buffalo, and they put it together, and BuffaLouie it was. And if you look at the logo, that is Lou Leeser. That's Jay's grandfather. The reason he has a cigar in his mouth, I've never met Lou. He was passed on long before I joined the team, but he always had a cigar in every single black and white picture you'll ever see of Lou Leeser. Always had the stogie, working in his hand.
I mean, he sounds like a heck of a guy.
Yeah, well, that's how it was back then. So anyway, Jay and his family founded it. All the recipes are from his mom, Trudy, who is just a beautiful woman, still around and still cooking and very vibrant. And through a whole series of random events, which we might get into without boring you to death, I somehow came onto the picture more about 2007 and 8, but we wound up buying it in 2011.
Okay, so you started, your journey with BuffaLouie's started in 2007. We talked about it a little bit before the show, and I want to dive into this. Your journey to Bloomington into the restaurant business is a little bit of a roller coaster, I would say.
Right.
Take us back to what brought you. You're originally from New York.
Born and raised in New York, through a whole series of random events. I'm a traveling salesman. I wind up at the Park West nightclub in Chicago. It's on Armitage and Diversey, I think. It's still around. It's a very popular club. They have big names that play there. I'm at the Park West. I meet a young lady, as luck would have it, and what looked like just a summer fling. One thing leads to another, as it often does. And next thing I know, I have an opportunity to move back to New York, and I asked her to move back with me, and we wound up getting married. Then we moved to LA, back to Chicago. Just a lot of random things that happened. And I'll spare your listeners all the details. But eventually, I wind up in Munster, Indiana. And my neighbor...
They call that the LA of the Midwest.
I'm assuming you're joking.
Go Mustangs, baby. Come on.
Yeah, Mustangs. but I don't see any similarities to L.A. But no disrespect to Munster, but nonetheless, became friends with the founder of BuffaLouie's when I was going through my divorce, and my life was really spiraling out of control. As I mentioned earlier, I lost my son Ben to suicide, which was a tough time, and without a question. I mean,
How old were you at that point, and how old was your son Ben at that point?
Ben was 19, and I was maybe 44, 45. And once he died, all roads led to Ben. And so, the old line, all my friends were her friends, meaning that my ex-wife was from there. And there was no reason for me to stay, particularly because my daughter was going to come to school down in Bloomington. Pardon me. And question?
Two kids?
Yeah, Ben and Haley.
Younger daughter, older son?
Yes, very good.
Okay. So 19, so he had just graduated high school?
Right. He was in a freshman year of college.
Where was he going to school?
At Purdue Calumet at the time.
Okay. So close to home.
Correct.
Obviously, this is a tragedy. At the same time that you guys are going through your divorce?
Correct.
Yeah, that's heavy. Your daughter was a senior?
She was maybe a sophomore or junior.
How did that moment change the trajectory of your life?
In ways that you can't even measure. I'm able to look back on it now, and I'm just so grateful that I had him as a son. Nick just had a beautiful boy named Otto. And, when Ben was born, if the doctor would have handed it to me and said, here's the deal, Ed, you're going to have this son for 19 years. You're going to love him as much as any father ever loved his son, and he's going to love you as much as any son ever loved a father, but you're going to lose him at 19. Would you take the deal? And I would say I would take it every time. So I'm not happy how it ended. I'd give anything to not, talk about him in the past tense. But we had 19 beautiful years. Some parents have kids that are still alive and they don't speak to each other. And so I have great memories. And I'm very fortunate because I've been remarried since, and I have 2 more kids. And Ben left me some amazing music, which I'm working on a project to do something productive with his music. So it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first 2 years were brutal. Just getting through the day was not easy, paralyzing. I used to pray to die every day. I wish a meteor would have fallen out of the sky. If a tractor trailer would have ran me over. But apparently God had other plans. And in the words of Ernest Hemingway, the sun also rises. And the sun rose for me. I mean, I was in a dark, dark place for 2 years.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, I'm as shocked as anybody about where I am and my position in life and my outlook on life, knowing where I've been. But, they say you got to stick around. Back in the day when the explorers headed west, they would always say, let's see what's on the other side of that hill. What's on the other side of that hill? Yeah. And there's only one way to see what's on the other side of that hill. You got to stick around. And for me, by sticking around and just plugging and chugging and, after a while you feel sorry for yourself and you say, well, this isn't working. I got to do something more productive. And
yeah.
I got very lucky late in life, extremely lucky.
So, yeah, you said 2 years, very dark. What helped get you out of that darkness and into this next chapter?
Well, without question, number one is my wife, Jamie, my current wife.
Yeah.
While I was going through all this, I wound up moving down to Bloomington. I wound up...
Let's talk about that. How do you end up leaving Lake County, leaving the region, as some call it, to head down to Bloomington and at the perfect time when your daughter is going to be a freshman at IU? Just what every college-age girl wants is her dad tagging along for the ride.
Correct, and she was not too happy about it, not at all. But it worked out well. Ultimately, she wound up working for us, which was a very nice compliment.
So you had a friend, the original founder, Jay.
Correct.
Was the owner of BuffaLouie's down in Bloomington.
Correct.
And you said, hey, can I go work at your restaurant?
Well, I mean, he knew of my struggles. He knew I'd lost my son. And he approached me and said, I've got this shop down in Bloomington. If you're interested, we could use an adult presence. And I've managed casinos. I'm into guest service. I'm really bad at a lot of things, but I'm very good at very small amount of things. And one of them is being a front man, just walking around. How is everything, folks? Good to see you. Can I get you something else? We appreciate you coming in, that kind of stuff. I'm not good at making food. I'm not good at putting away trucks, but I'm good at being a front man. And that's what I did in the casino business. I was the guest service manager, and I'd walk the casino floor and, do whatever I needed to do to keep people happy. But so Jay knew my skill set and said we could use somebody like you down there in Bloomington. And I moved down there really just to get a fresh start and clear my head.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. And it, without Jamie, and it took a while because I was an emotional mess, as you could imagine. And I encouraged her to stay away. I really did, because I just didn't think I was worthy, or I just knew she could have done better.
Yeah.
But she stuck around, and I was like, fine, you want to get married? Let's go. And one thing led to another, and we got married in Vegas, which was a whole nother story, which we'll save for another day. And it was not a shotgun wedding or anything like that. And then almost a year to the day that we got married, we had our first child, Avery. And 5 years later, we had our second child. And now at the ripe old age of 64, I have a 15-year-old who's starting point guard at South High School, I'm proud to say. And,
Go Panthers?
Yeah, exactly. She's Avery Schwartzman, a nice little player. And then I have a 10-year-old son, Elliot, who is all boy, and exhausts me just thinking about him. I get tired just talking about him. And how the sun has risen again for me is really unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at the depths of depression, and now here I am.
What a wild ride. And when you moved down to Bloomington, alongside what's your oldest daughter's name?
Haley.
Haley. So Haley goes to be a freshman in Bloomington. You go to run the BuffaLouie's in Bloomington, and that's where your guys' paths cross.
Correct.
Nick, you were a part-time employee there?
That is correct.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Richmond, Indiana.
Richmond. Go Red Devils.
I was going to say, you said Panthers. I'm going to see if
Come
you
on
know
now.
the Red Devils. Good
yeah.
job.
Okay. From Richmond, you go down to Bloomington, and you get your first part-time job, and you walk into, what year was this?
So freshman year, grades were slipping, as most incoming freshmen do.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, we're moving in, and we're going to the iconic BuffaLouie's, and I remember we're sitting up for those of our guests that have been there. I'm sitting up in the skybox with me and my buddies and all of our parents, and my really good friend had worked in the restaurant business. I never have, and Ed, being the front man, like he said, comes up to the table, greets us, and one of his things that he'd always ask is like, "Who needs a job?" And then of course both of our moms were like, "They do," and pointed at me and a buddy, and then he asked, "Have you guys ever worked in the restaurant business before?" And I haven't. And my other guy, he had worked at Chipotle part time, so he's like, "Yeah, I have." So Ed was like, "All right, yeah, we'll take him." He ended up hiring both of us. My guy, my friend Tyler, actually ended up not taking the job, and I did, which kind of leads us into a little bit of a funny story.
Yeah, day one, you take this job. You've never worked in a restaurant before. Mm-hmm. Day one, you show up. Ed's your boss. You walk in. How does it go?
So back in the day, you had to go online, and this is my reason we're going to stick to this story, and this could be false or not false. But anyways, I had to apply for what days I could work and what days I had class. So the days in which I had class, I had, swapped my availabilities. So first day, I'm supposed to come in and work at BuffaLouie's. I was actually scheduled for class, so no call, no show. So the next day, I get online and check my schedule, and it says, you're blocked, can't get in. So I call the store, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And I vividly remember the manager on the other line saying, yeah, we fired him. If he wants his job back, he's gonna have to come in on Monday and talk to the owner, Jamie. And I'm thinking, oh great, here I go. Mom, grades are slipping. Mom's like, get a job, and you get fired before you even show up.
Get fired on day one because of a technological mishap.
Yes.
So you go in there. What does the conversation look like as you sing for your supper, trying to get the job back?
There's a lot of tears and a lot of whining. No, I went in there and kind of honestly laid it down. Jamie, as Ed will tell you, is a lot more strict and by the book on things. So I was nervous. And back then they used to have an office that's probably a fourth of the size of this room.
Oh, so it's huge.
Yes,
very
exactly.
huge. Because our podcast studio is very, very large.
So I had to go in there, and it's her and Janelle, and I'm sitting in there, as a kid, and just like, listen, I need this job, blah, blah, blah. And she ended up giving me the opportunity to get the job back. And it's funny because she, like a week later, was asking some people to help move some friends out of a house. And, I got to suck up and get some brownie points. So I signed up and said, I'll do it. And, she always looked back. She's like, man, I didn't no idea who this kid was. I just fired him, brought him back. And then now I'm having him help me move a friend out of their house. And here we are about a little over 10 years later, and got my own BuffaLouie's.
Yeah, which is an interesting piece to the story. So talk to me, one, about when did BuffaLouie's become iconic in Bloomington? As not an IU grad, I had heard of it before. I know that people from the area love it, love the wings, all that jazz. When did BuffaLouie's become an institution in Bloomington?
So, the crazy thing is, so he was a no-call, no-show day one. And obviously back then you would fire people for that. Nowadays, if you're a no-call, no-show, we make you the general manager. Oh, he didn't come in. We love this guy.
Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah,
it must mean they're very involved.
Right,
they're very
important.
busy. Their time is important.
It's an upside down world, but we did take him back, and what he just said is true. My wife said, "All right, I'll bring you back if you move my girlfriend's apartment, whatever it was." And
quick side story: we when I used to work at BuffaLouie's, there was another gentleman that was a pretty good employee as well by the name of Nate. If he's listening to this, he'll think this is funny. So Nate Shipman. You could never get our names right, so he would just always call me Nick Nate, just because he knew I was either one of the two. So he would just call us both Nick Nate, and I think I'm probably still on his phone.
I'm about to show you.
Oh, let's see it.
Nick Nate Williams. That's his nickname. That's how
Nate Williams. That's hilarious.
So now he's got both of us in here. I don't know what, what to do.
So there you go. Just say
he
Nick
calls
Nate.
you Nick, just take it.
Yeah, you just keep saying Nick Nate and you won't be wrong.
Correct.
Right? There we go.
Correct.
Okay, so what year was it when you were working at BuffaLouie's?
It was going into my sophomore year, which was 2012.
There you go. Okay. 2012. Did you work there all through college?
I did up until my senior year. I started as just a fry cook, and then by my senior year, I was doing a little bit of assistant managing roles.
Hey, there we
Ed was helping me with
developing
some
leaders.
So two things. One, you asked about like when did BuffaLouie become iconic? Sometimes lightning strikes in a bottle, and what I mean by that is we opened in 1987, which also happened to be the last year that IU won a basketball championship.
So you're saying that since BuffaLouie's opened, IU has not won a national championship in basketball?
Now, don't try to correlate the two, because I could also tell you, we fast forward, we're in the football stadium now. We've been in there for 2 years, and the football team is undefeated at home with us. They've never lost since BuffaLouie. So
IU football has not lost a game since they started serving BuffaLouie's chicken wings at Memorial Stadium.
That's
a fact.
Clip that, buddy.
Yeah, that's a mathematical fact.
I love it.
So if you're going to blame us for not winning a championship, then you got to give us credit for Signetti and what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now. But anyway, we opened in '87, and Jay and his father, whose name was also Ed, they had some tremendous business sense. And one thing they embedded themselves with IU basketball, particularly also Bill Mallory, who was a tremendous coach in his own right. And so we back in the late 80s, IU sports programs the stock was up. Mm-hmm. And so the timing was right. It was a little hole in the wall on a street called 17th Street, which now is an insignificant street, relatively speaking. But back then there was no Route 46, and so there was no bypass. So 17th was the only way in and out of the stadium. So they were on a main thoroughfare. If you looked where it is now, you'd say that was the main thoroughfare. Back in the day, it was. And so they opened up in '87 on 17th Street, became a favorite of the coaches almost overnight. And the football coaches would always watch tape and eat wings. Bobby Knight would come in all the time, and the rest was history. So when back then, wings 5 cents, 10 cents, because wings were really an afterthought. Now everybody's got wings. But back in the day, they would chop the wing off and throw it away. It was kind of an aftermarket product, and nobody gave it much thought. Kind of like the potato skin with Thank God It's Fridays. Up until then, what are they doing with the skins? So, but we became pretty much iconic right away, and they moved into the building we're in now, which is known as the Gables building. We moved in there in 2005.
So were there 2 locations for a while?
At one time there was, and unfortunately what happened was Jay's dad, again, his name was Ed, passed away rather unexpectedly. I don't remember the details, but he went into the hospital for a surgery, and there was complications, and either never made it out or it was shortly thereafter passed away unexpectedly. So after his dad died, that kind of opened up this whole thing where he would approach me maybe a year or 2 later and say, because he had 3 or 4 managers down there running the shop, but he approached me and said, Ed, I could really use an adult tuchus. And I don't know if there's video on this show, but I do have a big adult tuchus. And so it runs in the family. It's genetic. But anyway, so I moved down there and fell in love with the town, fell in love with Jamie, and started a new life, which the whole thing is a fantasy to me.
So then what ended up happening? So there were 2 locations in Bloomington at the time?
And eventually, very early on, this is even before Jamie and I bought the business, we decided that 17th Street was just cannibalizing our other store, meaning it was taken away from the profits. Yeah. And then the other thing was that building desperately needed some TLC. The original store, which you probably never saw the original store. The building was old and tired, and so the story goes, I think Jay wanted to buy the building and remodel our space. The building was not for sale, couldn't buy it. And if you know anything about retail and restaurants, if you lease the space and now if you start fixing up the building, you're fixing somebody else's building.
Yeah.
Which, sounds very benevolent, but, you got to make a living. So we decided not to put the money into the space, instead to close it down. And so that's how that went.
When you guys crossed paths, it's 2012.
Correct.
You end up working there for 3 years, and then you graduate from IU and leave and go off into the world to...
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He talks about being in the casino business. I spent about 7 or 8 years in the casino business as well.
Oh, where at?
In Shelbyville, so yeah, not too far.
Currently on strike.
Yeah, they're in a world of...
A little bit of a dispute happening in Shelbyville at the moment.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of... I don't know if you knew that.
No.
The dealers walked out.
went on strike.
Yeah. Walked out and said they're like upset with Caesars.
They want more higher pay, and it's just cheap to run a casino in Indiana. As you know, Indiana's one of the best real estate markets, and
wow.
Yeah, it's tough.
Insider info on the...
That's actually public. You can read
casino.
kind of about that. That's what the strike's more or less about, is just the amount of money.
So then you end up leaving the casino business.
Correct.
And how many times had someone approached you since you took over the business and owned it in 2011? So that would be 14 years. How many times have people approached you about opening new locations?
That is a great question. Now I see why you're such a phenomenal success, Nate Spangle. All the time. I mean, on busy weekends, like for example, this weekend, Wisconsin's coming to town. And if I'm walking the store, now unfortunately it's a noon kickoff. So let's say I'm walking the restaurant afterwards, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we have a win, we have a line out the door, we have hundreds of people in the restaurant. There's all these dads from all over, whether it's Chicago, LA, whatever. They're eating our wings, eating our burgers. And as they're eating, they're saying to me, man, you ought to open one of these in, and you fill in the blank, wherever they're from. Everyone's quick to tell me we should open one here, open one there. But my response is always, listen, we could open it tomorrow, but it can't be me. I can't be in 2 places at once. But if you want to open one, we certainly can. And let me take your card. I'm very interested. I'd love to own one of these. And then, of course, we never hear from them again.
No one ever hit, because this is like 5 beers deep. They're
Correct.
eating a chicken wing saying this is the
well,
best
they get
thing
home and
ever.
they tell their wife, and their wife's like, you're not opening a restaurant. And that's the end of that story.
Yeah.
So, but Nick, I'm glad you asked this question, because of all the employees I've ever had, the greatest thing that Nick Williams had was a can-do spirit. He still does to this day. And what a great way to go through life, no matter what the situation was. Do you ever see the movie Die Hard?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember in the movie Die Hard when Bruce Willis is crawling through the air ducts and he's on the radio with the cops and he says to the cop, listen, pal, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution, because the cops are messing it up, they're not making it better. And so there are certain employees, when there was a problem and you'd see them walking in, you'd say, oh my God, it's about to get worse because here comes Sad Sack Jones. Well, when Nick walks in, thank God, here comes Nick. He's going to help solve the problem. I could always envision Nick walking up to me, clapping his hands and saying, oh, what can I do for you, boss? That was his famous line. And a lot of kids, when they would say that to me, I'd say, you know what? Go see if the bathrooms need cleaning or something, and which is certainly you need to keep the bathrooms clean, but there's also a way to get rid of them. With Nick, I would give him a real assignment, knowing it would get done. And the can-do spirit of this guy, so he would tell me for years, I'm going to open one of these one day. I'm going to open one of these one day. And I'd always be like, fine, Nick, I hope you do. But I mean, other than me cheering him on, there's nothing I could do. And then one day he calls me and says, I think we're ready. I put together a team, and let's go out and find a spot. And it was not easy to find a spot. I mean, we looked and looked and looked.
Where was the initial thought? Carmel? Was it always Carmel?
No, we've looked probably everywhere in the Indianapolis area. Looked downtown, Greenwood, but actually a little bit in Broad Ripple as well. But
Correct.
We ended up, one of my partners is from Carmel, and we ended up getting very, very fortunate, landing a spot right on Main Street.
Yeah, I mean, the spot is insane. Back patio, freaking
Definitely.
live music. You had karaoke ripping on weeknights. It's great.
Definitely.
I've had
Thank you, Nate.
I think I was there on a wine Wednesday, maybe, like half price bottles of wine. Won't
You're
put it
there
on.
on a Wednesday. Yeah, that's definitely our half. Man, there you go.
I think it was wine and karaoke on a Wednesday, and it was lit, which is very fun for like an
Nice.
adult, like for like I'm going to temper expectations. If you're expecting like Rock Lobster type on a Wednesday, like that's not what we're going for here. But like we were eating wings, drinking wine, listening to people sing karaoke, great vibes.
Yeah, I think we're a perfect mix of both a sports bar and like a family style.
I mean, it's perfect for like washed up old alums. Just like want to watch some sports, eat some wings, hang out. Like it's the move. So you end up, and if anyone knows, you're in like the heart of Carmel.
Correct.
So you're talking about looking at Greenwood and Broad Ripple and all these places, and somehow you land probably one of the most expensive pieces of retail real estate in the state of Indiana.
Don't remind them.
Tell me about that story.
So, like I said, I have a couple partners, one being a local attorney up there, and then the other being IU basketball player Yogi Farrell. We were having a meeting, and we were looking all over. Like I said, we were in Greenwood, downtown, looking at massive places and small places. And, we sat down and we said, okay, what are we doing? Like, we just have no recollection of what, we're trying to perceive. We kept saying we wanted something turnkey where we walked in and just turned the door and it was ready to go, and definitely didn't happen. But Jay said something, the founder, he said, we were in a meeting and he said, we don't need an A location. He said we need a B spot in an A location. He said the building doesn't need to be crazy as long as the location's good. So that's kind of where we landed, right on Main Street and Veterans Way. It was the kitchen was an old barber shop, and the dining room now was an old coffee shop.
Talk about turnkey.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nothing like figuring out how to cook wings in a barber shop.
For sure. So, and
Waiter, there's hair in my chicken. Well, it's supposed to be. It comes with it.
Yeah. You get
feather.
You get like a 1-2 fade, and you get some chicken wings. Let's go.
Definitely. So we, ended up buying the building and then, going through our construction phase, which took entirely too long. But,
I have never heard anyone doing a build out that's ever been like, yeah, we finished a month early. Like not one time. I think we've put out 215 episodes of this podcast at least. Not one single person has ever finished a build out ahead of schedule and under budget.
Well, and the other thing is, like I said, I come from the casino business. They're restaurant guys. There's only a couple people with some real estate and construction background. So when we're trying to put this thing together, it takes a lot of minds and trial and error and going back and forth on bathrooms go here, what goes here. I mean, still to this day, there's like little crevices and stuff. I'm like, we could have changed that, this, that, and the other. But one thing that like we really focused on and that I'm pretty proud on is I wanted it to replicate the Bloomington location as much as possible. Now, for those of you that have been down there, that's not easily said. It's easier said than done because of all the jungle gym type seating in there. But the memorabilia and all the stuff on the walls down there is like what takes you away when you go up to order at the counter and you see everything. So I just, really focused on, making it, Indiana themed, real sports themed. It's majority IU, but we have a lot of Colts, Pacers, and stuff like that. We try to do
Any Purdue stuff?
So there is a section with all the Big Ten banners, and Purdue happens to be in the Big Ten, so they're up there. But there's not much. I will say this though, for the Purdue listeners, and being 1 year in Carmel, there's tons of Purdue fans up there. We'll always play Purdue games on at the restaurant. We actually have a couple couples that come in for the games. I always say, though, the food's really good. Don't pay attention to the stuff on the walls, and you'll be good to go. So that is a welcome invite to all Purdue fans.
Well, that's
by
big
the
of you.
way, if anybody listening lives in Lafayette or West Lafayette and wants to put a BuffaLouie's there, we're receptive. In other words, we are IU fans. Obviously, we make a living in Bloomington, we make a living in Carmel. If we set up in West Lafayette, I think we'd be black and gold, and I know I'm going to be struck down for saying that, but
Yeah, all your loyal BuffaLouie's listeners are like, hell, like you could put this thing,
Yeah, they're probably-
you could
they're
put a
probably
BuffaLouie's on
pitchforks.
the Sun before we put one in West Lafayette.
Yeah.
How long does it take to build out the entire Carmel store and get it ready to rock?
Probably under, a year and a half, 2 years maybe.
too long.
Yeah.
Were you still working somewhere else at this time?
So for a little bit, it's a little bit of both. I started off working in the casino business while we started off the first couple stages of the construction project. Mm-hmm. And then once we were getting a little bit closer, because like you said, those timelines and such don't really come to fruition until the end of the project. So I kind of held out in the casino business as long as I could. And then once I pulled the trigger with that, I spent about a year with Ed down in Bloomington, kind of greasing the skids again and taking the training wheels off. And so I did that for a year. And then when we were getting ready to open, I think we took about 2 or 3 months just up in Carmel, hiring and doing a little bit of training up there.
Why? Like, why, start this career in the casino and entertainment business and then go back to your college job to start a BuffaLouie's?
Well, he's good. You're right. This is a great question. So, like Ed said, I've always kind of told him, just like everyone else has, about, hey, I wanted to open a BuffaLouie's. But there was one day in, it was right after, it was like kind of during the pandemic, kind of on the outskirts of it. I was downtown with my roommate, and I was working till 1 a.m. and I was tired of just the casino business, being there every night, doing all this stuff. And I wrote down on my phone, I was just having these ideas, and I wrote down on my phone, open a BuffaLouie's. And I set it as a reminder every day for 8:30. And I just thought, like, hey, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. I've always believed in BuffaLouie's. I always tell people I didn't want to get in the restaurant business. I wanted to get in the BuffaLouie's business. So I didn't quit my job to go open up my own restaurant or do something that I came up with. It was a standard in Bloomington that I have fallen in love with, that everyone's kind of fallen in love with. I had known it from an insider's perspective, working with Ed and Jamie. And I, always say, I learned just as much, if not more, from them, working with them, than I did like at Indiana University. But I had that idea and I put it in my phone, and probably it was 2 or 3 years later until it started coming to fruition. So I had to have that reminder every day to do it. And then it was during COVID. So one thing about BuffaLouie's that people know is we've done delivery and carry out service from, before all these DoorDashes, before all the Uber Eats. And so when COVID hit, all these restaurants had to get, quick on their feet and get to takeout, get to carry out, and figure out how to, stay alive with carry out. And I remember thinking, man, BuffaLouie's was delivering and had their own delivery drivers doing this stuff before it was cool. Now we're on the outside of the pandemic, and, being the owner of BuffaLouie's in Carmel, we do tons of carry out business. I mean, a lot of people these days love to take food home and eat as opposed to going out. And other than pizza, that's probably the number one most takeout food. Wings is number 2.
Oh, for sure, right? Like, big sports game, it's 50-50. Are you like, no one's, all the respect to curry, but like no one's like, let's get some curry and watch the game, like it'll be a fun Saturday.
Well, I always
wings
say
and pizza.
Baseball, you think of hot dogs. Football, you think of wings.
Honestly, that's so true. Getting wings, watching football, like the Super Bowl, you got to have wings.
For sure.
Yeah.
I want to add something about what Nick just said, that there's a very famous story about Jim. Well, what he did, I forget the psychological term, but he's he's determining his own future.
Yeah.
By him setting a reminder every day. He would wake up, I think it was at 8:30 in the morning. And I found this out very late in the process. I think somehow somebody said, Ed, you need to see his phone. You need to see what he gets every day at 8:30. So he showed me, and there's a very famous story about Jim Carrey, the actor. So when Jim Carrey was a starving artist and nobody would give him the time of day, he wrote himself a check for $1 million. Are you familiar with the story?
Yes.
He writes himself a check for $1 million, folds it up, dates it maybe 5 years in the future. He has no money at this point. I think he's homeless. And he keeps this check in his wallet for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whenever he can cash it. The week before that check, in theory, could be cashed, he lands Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Right. And whatever that check was, let's say it's $1 million, he could have cashed it. In other words, when he wrote it, he had nothing. But by the time the date came to cash that check, he had the funds, which he basically predicted his own future. And the same thing with Nick. Every single day, he would get a reminder, open a BuffaLouie's. And when I found that out, I was like, my God, we got to do everything we can to help this guy. He's either half crazy or half insane, or I don't know what, but both. We can't. This is just too beautiful.
A lot of times people grow up and you start to float. You get comfortable with whatever you're doing, like, I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I make dinner, maybe like you play with your kids, do that thing there. But like from this dream or goal, like whatever that might be, whether it's professional, whether it's, being the best parent you can be, being the best athlete you can be, running the fastest marathon, whatever your goal is, having that constant reminder and the motivation to like keep working, right, keep going. So important. Oh my gosh. I love it. 2 years in the build process, you finally get BuffaLouie's Carmel open, which would have been, there were some other stores back in the day, but this would be your first new BuffaLouie's. Correct. In how many years?
15 to 20.
15 to 20 years. Talk to me about opening weekend.
Like you said, there's not any other locations out there, so it wasn't like we had a manual that said, all right, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is what you got to do. I remember we did a couple soft opening events where we invited friends and family out. Some of the staff down in Bloomington came up as well, and we were just, trying it out here and there. And after about 2 or 3 of those, we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, well, then, no better time than now. We ended up opening on October 21st. It was a Monday of last year. And we did it on a Monday hoping it would be a little slower. And boy, it was like a Saturday night, probably for the first couple weeks. We were just crazy, figuring things out, figuring out what worked.
That's
and
the thing
stuff.
with restaurants, right? They get pressure tested early.
Definitely. And things that, may work in Bloomington may not work for us up there. I mean, they're laid out differently. There's
And a little bit different of a clientele, I
Most
feel like,
definitely.
is it majority college students that come in down in Bloomington? Or is it like when parents visit Bloomington, you take your parents and go to BuffaLouie's?
Both.
Both versus I don't know how many college students, or it's probably more of alumni who want to be
100%.
nostalgic and hang out at a spot that reminds them of Bloomington.
They've been around since 1987, have built that, staple. And for us to be, a year old and, have that iconic BuffaLouie's name, attached to our building, I feel like we have big shoes to fill. One, Carmel is more competitive in restaurant business.
Yeah,
So I feel like,
in the last year,
Yeah, so
you
you
think
have to be
about
on your
everything that's
toes.
opened up there. It's challenging. There's,
Yeah.
new Salt goes in, new 1933 goes in. Spectacular spot, by the way, for that upscale. I do really enjoy that. Obviously, I'm also
Josephine's,
You
yeah.
hear me talking. I love BuffaLouie's too. So, but I feel like it's kind of like we did. What did we do? We went to dinner over there, and then we said nightcap. Obviously, we end up on the patio, the back of BuffaLouie's in Carmel. Spectacular time. But it
is
is
this before
competitive.
we got the pergola or after?
There was a pergola.
Nice.
It was fire. And then you had a DJ back there spinning karaoke.
My
This was
man.
probably a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, we like to dip our hands in a little bit of everything.
2 months. It was cool. And there were lots of people. And this is the crazy part to me. Oh, you talk about how competitive Carmel is in this space. I graduated in 2019. I could never have dreamed of going out on a Friday night in Carmel. Are you joking me? It was so old and suburban and stodgy. And now it's between you guys and the GOAT and all and 3 Up, it's the place to be on a Saturday night. It's crazy.
No, Carmel is, has a bunch of, new restaurants coming in. They're redoing a lot of stuff on Main Street down on the end. We're kind of in one of the older style buildings, which I think plays into our character a little bit.
And there's not a ton of sports bars.
No,
right?
correct.
That's places to watch sports in the greater downtown Carmel area.
And that's where I think we fill a pretty good niche up there. Is a lot of the restaurants are fine dining, white tablecloth, and I think we're right in the middle of the pack. Where if you want to come get a really good burger, some good wings, and watch the game and have a cold one, that's what you need to do.
I was going to say, on IU game day, is it just
It
unreal?
is. Like you said, perfect timing to open a BuffaLouie's when Indiana football is doing so well.
And everybody saw that coming, by the way, right? Raise your hand if you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. And if you're out there and you put your hand up, you're a liar.
So yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. One thing I always, is our crutch on those days is we fill up. We just get full. That's why we added that pergola really fast. We went through those winter months where we just had the inside and we just knew we needed more space. So we added that kind of quickly. It was a little bit of an investment, but we definitely needed it.
What's the most unexpected part about operating a restaurant?
They have been around since 1987, and yeah, we use the same sauces, same recipes, and do everything pretty much the same thing. But you have to figure it out for yourself, and you have to live it, and there's no way to really understand any restaurant, in my opinion, until you just do it.
Or wing it, let's say.
Yeah, wing
Until
it.
you wing it. There you go.
exactly.
What business are we in? We're in the wing business. So there you go.
You're just always winging it.
I would say maybe not unexpected, but just to pivot on that is, and I'm sure Nick would agree, the relationships that he's already made and will continue to make. I've been doing this a lot longer than him, and I go out into the community and people know me, and I'm not talking out of an ego thing, but it's a beautiful thing. You walk around and people come up and say hello. I've had people take pictures with me, which is mind-boggling. And it's fun. it makes you a better corporate citizen when you know people know who you are. You want to make sure that you're behaving, that you're not acting like an ass. Whenever we go out for dinner, my wife's like, you got to tip really heavy. Like, even if the service sucked, I have to over tip. She goes, they know who you are. They, if word gets out that the owner of BuffaLouie's didn't give a 25% tip, we're going to be done. And meanwhile, well, wait a minute, I got bad service. That doesn't matter. Give them 25%. But I don't want to. You have to do it anyway.
Is it a lot of pressure? Like, this is a brand that's been around since 1987. Obviously, was one location for almost 20 years, and then you get to branch out and start the second location.
There's pressures everywhere. I mean, from which angle? I mean,
Yes,
financially,
it's life.
my wife,
It's life,
the
yeah.
brand. I mean, they're everywhere. But that's, like you said, that's life. And I kind of, being a year into it now, that's how I prefer it. I like to, bet on myself. I'd rather, work for myself and, work with people that genuinely care and try to, build something special, as opposed to, work the corporate ranks and try to, get to the top that way. So yeah, it's definitely, more of a risk, and, you got a lot of pressure from a lot of people, but it definitely is. It's not for everybody, but it's definitely for me, for sure.
Amen.
Well, you could say the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And you literally, whether you're owning a restaurant or owning a lawn care business, you're trading one set of problems, working for somebody else and worrying, is there going to be a Black Friday? Are they going to fire 20% of the staff? I know Nick in the casino business suffered through many Black Fridays, as I did as well. So the only guarantee is there's no guarantees. So if you run the business, you have those anxieties of, am I going to make payroll? I've got to make a lot of decisions that I don't always want to make decisions. Sometimes it's very taxing. But the flip side is that you don't have to worry about you're going to come in and someone's going to fire you. So you literally trade one set of problems for another.
For sure.
Mo money, mo problems. Ain't that the truth? The Carmel location isn't the only new venture that you've kind of been working on, Ed.
Very good, Nate.
You're a New Yorker, right? You come
Correct.
to Indiana. I had a delicious bagel this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, that Ed brought up here. Talk to us about Gables Bagels.
Born and raised in New York. I've always, I was a bagel baker at 2 different bagel shops in New York. Bagels are part of my culture. I mean, to me, a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, eating bagels, with coffee, particularly in the fall. I mean, I'm sure there's maybe a better way to start, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a heck of a good start. And so my dad, when I was young, used to play a lot of tennis, and there was a great bagel shop near his tennis court that he would play. And every Saturday and Sunday, he would stop and pick up a fresh bag of bagels, come home, and I would hear the bag rustling, just like the bag that I just brought in here this morning.
Oh, it was rustling, let me tell you.
And
Robert's on his third one out there.
Yeah, we could hear it now, in fact. And anyway, the point is that this is how I grew up. And you leave New York, much like if you leave Indiana and there are things that you miss. I don't know what it would be. I don't know if it's a pork tenderloin sandwich, or there's got to be something, a specific. If you're in Philadelphia, can't get a good cheesesteak anywhere. If you're in Boston, can't get a good lobster roll. Well, to me, I felt the bagels in the Midwest were lacking. No disrespect to any other bagel shops that I've tried, but they just weren't for me. And during COVID, I said, what? There was a spot near our restaurant that I thought I could convert to a bagel shop. I convinced my wife, which was not easy, to support me. And we took a shot. And the biggest concern I had was not necessarily failing, although that certainly was a possibility. The bigger concern was, is my wife now going to have the right to say, I told you so, and you never get to go out on a limb again because you failed? And so, I mean, the financial loss would have been devastating, but the pressure of my wife being able to give me grief for the rest of her life, that I couldn't have taken. So thank God the business, we opened up 3 years ago, and it's been a phenomenal success. I'm very proud to say we're the #1 Google reviewed and #1 Yelp reviewed restaurant in Bloomington. And we're actually...
Wait, just restaurant in general?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. We're 4.8. I don't know. There might be somebody 4.9, but I like to say that. If I'm wrong, sue me. I think we're definitely in contention.
I will say there's a little fun fact about BuffaLouie's spinoff is before we opened our second location, someone told either Ed or myself that they were the largest reward system database in the country for a single store restaurant.
That's correct.
Wait, BuffaLouie's had the largest.
Rewards database. You know how you get points?
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
You can get free
for
meals
one
and stuff?
single store.
Yep.
That's
The largest
pretty cool.
database in the country.
That's fun.
Well, that also speaks to the loyalty of our customers that they're willing to give us the data.
for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They trust you. You're not going to blow them up.
And they plan on coming
Okay,
back.
here it is. We're talking. This is spectacular. This is a local guide. This review, she's given 27 reviews.
Okay.
In her, which is a lot in terms of Google. We've got Gables Bagels, 4.8 on Google. She says, visiting from Alabama for the senior week. I don't think I've ever been to a business with such an enthusiastic owner. He connected with every customer. He also kept the extremely long line moving, but at the same time, took the time to connect with us and offer recommendations, asking if we were first-time visitors and where we were from. So, 10 out of 10 on the atmosphere and culture. We ordered the strawberry bagel, with the jalapeno breakfast popper sandwich. Or
we got
jalapeno
that.
popper breakfast sandwich. Talk to me. I'm interested. Basically, they're saying this was incredible. 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10.
Nice.
And they even waited a decent in the line.
Yeah.
And they said,
Well, it's the same thing at BuffaLouie's. I mean, people, I know when my dad was alive and he would come into BuffaLouie's, he'd say, son, I would never eat here. If it wasn't your place, I wouldn't eat. Why, Dad? Because he doesn't want to stand in the line. And, the long lines can be very intimidating, and it never ceases to amaze me, whether it's BuffaLouie's or the bagel shop. People stand in line to give us money. And I always want to move the line, but obviously look for that, pardon me, that intersection of quality, speed, et cetera.
what would you guys say? What advice would you have for other potential restaurateurs, whether they're opening a franchise, whether they're starting their own restaurant, or, building a second location for an iconic brand? What advice would you give to them?
Back to my story is you really you have to believe in it. Like I said, I would not have done this if it was any other restaurant, if it was any other brand. I mean, you can come up with your own brand and stuff like that, but you really have to have, full head of steam and belief in it. And then you have to just pull the trigger and go. I mean, there's a lot of, like you said, how many people have asked you about opening a BuffaLouie's? There's
Countless.
a lot of, diddle-daddling around, and sometimes it is nerve-wracking. I mean, it's a financial risk. It's a lot of things. And
Marital.
yeah, if you aren't prepared for that, then it can be tough. And I just think if it's something that you want to do, and I enjoy doing it now at the age of 31, about to be 32. I just had a little boy a couple months ago, so now like the pressure's on even more. So you got to just really want it, and just you got to be willing to consume yourself with it. I feel like I left the casino business and I worked a lot there, and then now I work 10 times more, but it doesn't feel like work. I just live it. So you just have to really want that.
That is an interesting piece about when it's ownership, is you do forego a little bit of work-life balance, especially when you're getting started. I think eventually you get afforded the opportunity to, if
100%.
you so choose it, show up to all the basketball games, be there for whatever it might be. But when you're just getting going, like it's you. Like you have to breathe this thing into existence.
Well, he's got a little boy named Otto, and in the beginning of life is the most precious. In the beginning of the restaurant, the success of the business is extremely is fragile.
Yeah.
A couple of bad reviews, a couple of big mistakes, and word starts getting around town, and you're finished. So the beginning is so tough, but you're 100% correct. Eventually, you can get to a point where you have peace of mind, where you surround yourself with good people who do the job. I mean, Nick and I are sitting here right now. His restaurant is open. My restaurant's open. And went out checking our phones. Our phone's not blowing up.
Yeah.
And we're doing just fine because we're surrounded by good people.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something else about, you asked, what advice would you give somebody opening a restaurant? The old phrase, ready, aim, fire. Well, there's another version of that. It's the name of the autobiography of Bill Cook, who was Indiana's wealthiest man. He passed away a few years back. He was in the medical device business out of Bloomington. And his autobiography is ready, fire, aim. Not ready, aim, fire. And the difference is my wife is a ready, aim, fire gal. She will think and study. I remember when I said, I'm opening up the bagel shop, she said, do you have a business plan? I said, yeah, my plan is to sell bagels. She said, no. Do you have your food costs laid out and spreadsheets? I said, I don't need all that nonsense. And so, when we opened up, I started firing and then making adjustments. Firing versus aiming and aiming and aiming until you shoot that bullet and you're still off and you still have to make an adjustment.
For sure.
So I think people who are more ready, fire, aim are much more successful than Ready, Aim, Fire because those people are going to think and think and think and eventually say, yeah, you know what? It probably won't work. And, it's like Aesop's fables with the sour grapes. Yeah, those grapes are probably sour anyway.
Yeah.
So to me, you've got to have that mentality of we're just going to make mistakes. We're going to screw up, but the sun will rise and we're going to be fine. And he is.
Yeah. I'm going to add this to my reading list. The Bill Cook Story, Ready, Fire, Aim, written in 2008 by Bob Hamill.
Who just passed away. He was a friend of mine.
Bob was?
Yeah. He was a Bloomington guy.
Oh. So Bloomington guy wrote another Bloomington guy. Right. Yeah. Because Bill Cook was probably, when did he pass away?
I'll say 5 years ago.
Yeah. It says the Bill Cook Story, Ready, Fire, Aim, the biography of a visionary Indiana billionaire. I mean, who doesn't want to read that? 4.3 stars. Come on. I'll take that. This is the review episode. We're talking about reviews. Speaking of reviews, we talked about this, right? Like in the early stages of a restaurant, it's fragile. Like a couple bad reviews, this, that, the other thing. How do you guys deal with that? When you're there, when you can be the front man and welcome every guest and give that A++++ owner experience, it's great. If you're not there, if you get a bad review, if someone goes on the internet and says something, let's say, distasteful about the product that you're offering, how do you guys handle that as owners?
The customer is always right, and I even if they're not, but I think sometimes it's people just want to be heard, and if you mess up, if you own the mistake and try to make it right, then I think that's just the best thing to do. I mean, we're all human.
Because you're not going to win. Like, even if you're right, let's say whatever happened and they were in the wrong, like they tried to order pizza and they're like so pissed because you don't have pizza or whatever it is, and you're like, hey, lady, chill out. Like, you can't say that. You're like, you know what? Because you're never going to convince them that you're right. You just have to give them what they want. And I think that's a tough place to be in because you kind of just have to say, like, smile and accept. It's like smiling and getting punched in the face. Like, yep. Yes, ma'am. May I have another?
Well, I think you also got to keep it in perspective, meaning we all know that bad news travels 10 times faster. Look at the newspapers. Bad news travels much faster than good news. Yeah. And so if we have 1,000 tickets on a day, and we get 3 reviews, which is probably a lot for one day, even if you have 1,000 different families coming in. And I sometimes ask people, say, do me a favor, we love this place. And I'll say, hey, do me a favor, if you're so inclined, if you want to leave a review, I know the team really appreciates it. And I always try to make it about the team, not about me. But, people, of course, will tell you they will, and of course they don't, because people lie like rugs. But the point is that if I got 1,000 tickets and I get one negative review out of those 1,000 orders, that tells me at 999 that we did just fine. And one thing I always do is I always try to respond to every single review, even the bad ones, and it's painful. And I've had people, I'll never forget one time, when I'm out in the dining room at BuffaLouie's and, where are you folks from? Missouri. Oh, what brings you to town? Oh, we're here for, my son is performing at the Jacob School of Music or whatever. And I'll say, oh, that's great. How'd you hear about us? And they'll say, well, we went online. And at this point, they don't know that I'm the owner. And they'll say, we started reading your reviews and we saw that the owner responded to every review. And I do. And
I do too now.
Yeah. And so they said that meant a lot to us. That really impressed. They didn't care that the reviews were good or bad. It meant a lot. And I will tell you this, every bad review I've ever had, I break the rules and I put my phone number out. I say, Joe, I would love to meet you to talk more about this. Here's my cell. Please text me. I'll buy you lunch. You're not supposed to say you'll give them anything. You're not supposed to put your phone number out there. I do it all the time. No one's ever. I think I had one person ever take me up on my offer to try to, make it right. So
how did that go?
Beautifully. They actually wrote they wrote a very lovely review.
They wrote a review about the review.
Correct. Well, they came back. They said, listen, the first time there was this, there was that. The second time, Ed had brought us in, and they were very complimentary. So, you try to win as many battles as you can. The ones you don't win, you keep it in perspective. It's like, listen, Signetti is 20-2. That's pretty gosh darn good. If we serve 999 people and one person gives us a bad review, we're 999-1. That's a pretty good record.
We'll take that. This is the interesting piece. The best intersection, I read a book about this. The best intersection to make the most loyal customer is actually on the heels of a mistake.
Without question.
Right? If you make a mistake, something gets wrong, and then you go above and beyond to make it right, that's how you get the most loyal customers, which
Correct.
is a crazy phenomenon. It's like you could serve them spectacularly 10 times in a row and it won't motivate them to make a review. You could mess something up, fix the problem above and beyond, then they'll be like, oh my gosh, this place is so great.
That's exactly right. People just want to be heard.
Yeah.
I mean,
There was a review we got recently. I think it was the bagel shop. Guy said something to the effect, I've been here so many times and they always get it right. Today they didn't. And he wrote what the negative review was. And I wanted to write back, hey, asshole. And shame on me for saying this, but I looked and looked. I couldn't see any of your positive reviews. What is it about your personality that you are saying that we did 5 out of 5 every time, but today, because we were 2 out of 5 in your eyes, today's the day you're going to leave the review.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
right?
human nature. That is human nature in a
It's so
nutshell.
true.
He even told us we're always great except that day. Yeah.
Well, speaking of reviews, if you like what you're hearing right now, please go on to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. It would mean a lot to our editor, Robert. He's on a mission to get, I think, 100 reviews for the show. So please make that happen. That would be awesome. See that segue there?
That was well done.
Yeah, there we go. Well, we've come to the next segment. This is the final segment of the show where we talk all things Indiana. So we have our first question here. It's brought to you by our friends at JC Hart. They're a leader in creating enjoyable living experiences at apartment communities all across Indiana and beyond. Check them out at homeisjchart.com. I do believe they have at least one property down in Bloomington. So if IU students are listening to this, check out JC Hart. My question for you, gentlemen, why do you call Indiana home?
Well, in my case, I might have mentioned it off air or maybe on air, I don't know, but my life is kind of like the Forrest Gump leaf. I've kind of gone where the wind is blowing, and I've lived in LA, I've lived in New York, I lived in Chicago, twice for each of those cities. And my point is somehow I wind up down here after this horrific situation, losing my son and the city, my wife. It became part of my renaissance, my rebirth. And literally for the first time in my life, I'm 64 now. I'm a member in decent standing in the community. I mean, I'm not pretending that I'm anything I'm not, but I feel like I matter. And I don't say that in a bragging way, but I know I have great friends. My kids are surrounded by great friends. I'm in the words of John Mellencamp, it's probably where they'll bury me. I mean, I was not born in a small town, but I'm not going anywhere now. I mean, a tank of gas lasts me a long time. I live 5 minutes from the store. I hardly ever go on a highway. I'm never stuck in a traffic jam. And even when I am, it's just a couple of lights on, College Mall Road. Life is good down there. I mean, it's a college town, and it's got all the flavor of a big city. I got all the sports I need, all the culture I need, although I don't go to the ballet. I don't go to, modern dance or the opera. But it's there if I wanted to.
for sure.
And we have good food, great weather. Southern Indiana is, and we go out on Lake Monroe. We have a small boat that we love, nothing fancy. I lead a good life, and I didn't always lead a good life. So I'm very lucky late in life, and so that's why Indiana for me.
Being born here obviously helps, but like you said, the cost of living and just after graduating from college and getting different jobs and offers elsewhere, it just didn't seem a fit to leave. I had a lot of family and stuff here, and then taking this risk opening a restaurant. I wouldn't want to do this in Long Beach or Manhattan, but here in Indiana, you can make a living with not too much. So yeah, I love the state. I've been here my whole life, but being a Hoosier is definitely something that means a lot to me.
Hold on. Did you mean Long Beach, California, or Long Beach, New York?
Man,
Or Long Beach, New Jersey?
California.
Because I lived. Did I mention that earlier? Is that why you said that?
I knew that. My in-laws used to live in Long Beach.
Oh,
I just was naming expensive real estate.
He was just,
Okay.
All right,
I was
gentlemen.
curious.
What's the go-to order at BuffaLouie's?
Don't tell anybody I said this, but carbs are the enemy. So you got to lay off the carbs. Although I go feast or famine with the carbs. I'll go 3 days where I just devour every piece of bread I find, and then I'll go 3 weeks without eating any. So if I'm eating carbs, I'll go 10 mediums flat. I get all flats. I don't like the drums. So I go 10 flat medium, extra crispy, and with a ranch. And then I take a 2-ounce cup of blue cheese crumbles, and I sprinkle them on top, and our amazing cheese bread, also with ranch. So a cheese bread with ranch.
We're on the carbs.
Yeah. Cheese bread, 10 wings flat, extra crispy medium, and I get them extra saucy, and I take that cheese bread and I mop it through the sauce, put the blue cheese on. Oh, it's The
Grip,
crazy
dip,
thing
and
is,
rip.
our cheese bread to me is one of my favorite things on the menu, and it's so simple, and I think that's why I like it so much. There's nothing very complex about it, but nobody does cheese bread as good as we do, which blows my mind. Nobody does wings as good as we do, which also blows my mind.
I'd probably have to say traditional wings as well, and probably our hot garlic sauce. It kind of moved around a little bit for me. I used to like our hot barbecue. So our most famous sauce is sweet barbecue, and then we have our milds through, mild, medium, hot, all the way up to Lucifer. But then we also mix those barbecues with the buffalo sauce. So hot barbecue is probably used to be my favorite even when I was in college. But then as of recently, and it's just kind of become our store favorite as well, hot garlic on some wings.
Yeah.
It's definitely an employee favorite. We recently did a spin on, they have the Gables burger, which is the building down in Bloomington. So we did what's called the Main Street burger, and it was just kind of a way for our staff to be able to come up with a burger that they wanted to name after our store specifically, and they ended up putting some hot garlic on that.
Yeah.
It's like a Southwest burger. So yeah, they really love it. I loved it. So, and it's not too spicy, but if you like spicy stuff, that'd probably be your best.
Well, that's not the only custom burger you guys have, the Main Street burger and the Gable burger. You also have a partnership with the Mendoza brothers, correct? Maybe you guys have heard Heisman frontrunner Fernando. You guys have a partnership with them, right? And you created a burger that isn't just lining the pockets of anyone in particular. It's helping raise money for a cause, correct?
Nate, I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with you, Nate. I can see why you're so good at what you do. You really are. So earlier this summer, we get an email from a company out of California that it turns out to be Fernando's sports agents. So Fernando and his younger brother, Alberto, they're signed up with them. I don't know if it's their agent or their agency, whatever the term is, I'm not sure. But basically the email says, we represent the Mendoza brothers. And when Fernando was at Cal last year, Cal Berkeley, there was a local taco shop that made a taco in honor of his mom. His mom suffers from MS, which is a horrific illness. And her name is Elsa. She's just the sweetest woman. I've met her several times. And so they said, we're not looking for a money deal. We just would like something on the menu where you donate the proceeds to fight MS, and we tie it in with the Mendoza brothers. Would you be interested? And my first thought was, wow, this sounds too good to be true. And often when it usually is too good to be true. So I remember I sent the email to Nick, and we have the team, the founder, Jay, and his group is still involved. So I sent it to everybody. It's like, I think I'm going to say yes to this. What do you guys think? And I love doing collaborative stuff because it just makes life easier if everyone's on board up front versus I say, here's what we're doing. And then they say, wow, Ed, it would have been nice if you would have thought of this, that, or the other. So it's always better to get buy-in up front. Nick chimed in right away and tell him what you said about Elijah Surratt.
Another little tidbit about me. I come from a little bit of a sports marketing and management background as well. So when he brought it to my attention, I was giving him quotes on a couple other receivers and stuff that we were trying to negotiate to do some meet and greets and some autograph signings, and they were wanting, an arm and a leg just to do that. And, meanwhile, this guy who I had a lot of faith in to be the Heisman favorite is wanting to do a partnership with us, name a burger after him, and then donate all the money to a charity. I mean, it sounded like a no-brainer. Like Ed said, is it too good to be true? But then they ended up making it happen. Fernando and Alberto are both, quarterbacks on the team, and they worked with Ed to make a great, Cuban-inspired sandwich, and I think it's done really well. It's done great in Bloomington and on game days. It seems to be a favorite, and it's going to a great cause. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's really cool, and that's awesome of those guys to. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like college sports has become all about money and making the most amount of money, and everything you do has to be something you're getting compensated for. And to have an initiative and to help bring this to life, I think is super cool and says a lot about their character as well as your guys' character as well.
I've had the fortune of meeting Fernando and Alberto multiple times. I've met his family, his mom, his dad, his extended family, and they're like a superior race. They're all gorgeous. They're all 6'12". They're all got model skin. I mean, it's really something when you hang out with them. And what I love about this story is when I said yes, I'd yet to meet them, and we had set up a taste taste test at BuffaLouie's, and he brought in 4 or 5 of his teammates plus Alberto. They came into BuffaLouie's when we were closed. Pardon me, and we ate like 6 or 7 different burgers, and they couldn't have been nicer. And then we went over to the bagel shop where we make a cubano for them, and we were going to film for Fernando, and he said, no, wait, I need my brother in this shot. And he's all about sharing the light with his brother. You know, it's the Mendoza brothers. It's not the Fernando Mendoza brothers burger. What's really cute, they have a younger brother named Max, who's about 12 or 13, just the most precocious, cute 12, 13-year-old kid you've ever met. And I wound up delivering a lot of food to their house/apartment after one of their big victories. And this little boy comes up to me, and I shake his hand. I say, how do you fit into this group? He says, well, you've got my name on your menu board at BuffaLouie's. And me being so stupid, my first thought, I'm thinking, is his last name Gables? Is his last name Sweet Lou? Is it All American? Like, what burger is named after this little kid? He goes, I am Max Mendoza. I am the youngest brother. And the burger says Mendoza Brothers Burger. It doesn't say Fernando. It doesn't say Alberto. I said, good for you, little Max.
Yeah.
Great kid. I mean, they're just a delight. So it makes it so much easier to want to support the cause. And obviously the whole goal here, you know, we're donating about $3 a sandwich, which is nice, but it's not going to move the needle, as you know, the cost of medical research. But what it could do, you know, we have so many alumni. I heard recently that IU has more active alumni than any college in the world.
It's the largest alumni association in the world.
Bizarre. I mean, maybe it's the fact that it's the alumni association versus just plain alumni. But regardless, that means they're willing to send money to IU to be part of this association. We just need 1 or 2, like a Mark Cuban, to support the Cubans, or
Oh,
hello.
See what we did there?
Yeah.
Come
But
on.
in other words, if one of them, and we use our QR code so they could tie it to our campaign. So we're going to maybe raise $1,000 a month or something because we're doing a match, which is nice. But if with money and awareness, if other people look on and say, you know what, I want to donate big numbers, that'd be lovely.
Sure. That's incredible.
So it might happen.
Yeah. And one of my favorite stories, I think it was, I don't know, a month or so back when Alberto got into one of the games and had like an insane run up the sideline. And I saw someone like on Twitter, like, I can't believe they still have Fernando in. Like, they're like running up the score, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's just another Mendoza that's playing quarterback for IU. Like, the world is so screwed. Like, we're going to just keep rolling.
Well, and then the other thing that drives me nuts is that our field goal kicker wears 15, just like Fernando, which I don't understand. And if you don't follow and they don't wear their names on the back of the jersey. And so if am I correct? There's no jersey.
Football, they do.
They do, but it says Mendoza. Oh, well, but you can't see the name. So all of a sudden, 15 is lining up for a field goal. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
he kicks field goals too.
Maybe they do that on purpose in case they need to run a fake.
But it's like, isn't
thinking.
Fernando 15 and Alberto 16?
Yeah.
And so you see like a 15,
It's hard to
16,
tell.
like, he like scampers down the side. That I'm like, dang, can't believe they still have him in. It's like, nope. That was my intro, that there were 2 of them.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
And he's good. Alberto's very good.
For sure.
So we've come to the final 3 questions that we ask every guest who comes on the show. This is where we just learn a little bit about your perspective on Indiana. So Ed, we'll start with you. We'll go to Nick. We'll go to Nick. We'll go to Ed. Back and forth. There we go. Born in New York, lived in Chicago, lived in LA, lived in the region, lived in Bloomington, been a lot of different places. As you're going there, what's one thing the world needs to know about Indiana?
Back in the day, they would call this flyover country. I don't know if you know that term.
I do.
And that's a New Yorker's view. You fly over the Midwest to get to LA, and it wasn't worth stopping. I would say keep flying over. Don't stop. In other words, I love our little charm down in Bloomington. It really is special. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it grew a little bit faster. It's a very slow growing town, and that's not by accident. There's a lot of restriction on growth, whereas Carmel, there's cranes everywhere. There's explosive growth. I wouldn't mind if there was somewhere in between, but I think what we've got going on in Bloomington is really special. And I can't speak for the whole state. I don't travel the whole state. I'm in Bloomington 99 days out of 100. I do love getting around. I love going up to Zionsville. Carmel is very lovely. But I don't know enough about the entire state. I should. Although I do drive with my daughter to different basketball games. I've been in every high school gym in the country. But to me, it's a lovely state. I love living here. I think it's safe. It seems to be pro-business. I got no complaints.
There you go.
The people, for sure.
Yeah.
Being a year into it, it's the best thing about being a business owner is meeting different people. And so many people are wanting to help you succeed. And I think a lot of places in this world probably are not like that. It's too competitive and people, will bite at each other. And here in Indiana, I just feel like anywhere you go, whether it's Bloomington, Carmel, back home in Richmond, I feel like you're going to get some genuine support. You're going to have some that, don't, but I feel like a majority of the Hoosier state is very supportive.
Amen. Okay.
I have an anecdotal story to support that. So right after COVID, we reopened and we have a line out the door for the first time in months. And I mean, I'm overwhelmed with joy because, financially we're upside down. And a customer walks in, I don't even remember who it was. And I recognized him and I said, Joe, I'm so sorry that we're so busy, because he was going to stand in this line. He said, Ed, I am so happy to see how busy you are. Oh, yeah. And I will gladly stand in this line. I'm like, wow, what more could you want? This guy's willing to stand in line to give me his hard-earned money. Like I said, I don't remember who it was, but I'll never forget that sentiment that he was happy to see how successful we were that day. So there it is. And that pivots off of what Nick just said. People are rooting for you. You do the right thing. You carry yourself in you support all the local causes, whether it's Fernando Mendoza, whether it's cancer, whether it's, we're big supporters of the Boys and Girls Club. You do the right thing and the community notices. It also softens the blow when you screw up inevitably, which you will.
Sure.
So true. Nick, we're back to you. What is a hidden gem in Indiana?
The stone quarries down in Bloomington.
Yeah.
You might get in a little trouble trying to get there these days, but I remember in college, those were somewhere we'd go park on the side of the street, and one of my buddies would lead us through the woods, and all of a sudden you'd find this perfectly cut out stone quarry that's got this crystal blue water, and you could jump off cliffs and stuff like that. You can get in trouble doing it now because I think it's owned by private property, but it's probably one of the coolest things in Indiana. They mention it in the movie Cutters, but
Breaking Away.
Sorry, but they were the Cutters.
Yep, you got it right.
That was probably, when I think of like Bloomington, I think of Indiana. That's when John Mellencamp was writing his songs, he was talking about the stone quarries. So
Ed, what's your hidden gem in Indiana?
Well, my first thought is I'm wondering how many of your listeners even are familiar with the movie Breaking Away, because it was filmed in the late 70s.
It's all about cycling, right?
And about Little 500, which is considered the biggest weekend in college in America. And it's an amazing movie, and I cry like a baby every time I watch that movie. Every time. I mean, I just turn it on, I just start crying right away. I'm pathetic. And the funny thing to me, as a sports freak, before I moved to Indiana, the three greatest sports movies all took place in Indiana. Breaking Away, Rudy, and of course, number one, Hoosiers, right.
I got to interview Angelo a few months
He's a friend.
back.
He comes into Buffalo. He's a good friend.
Yeah.
He's a good friend.
He talks, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see you two having some good banter back and forth.
So hidden gem. So I like that you said the quarry. That's certainly one. And there is some danger there, but you certainly, it's worth it, particularly if you've seen a movie. Breaking Away. My hidden gems, Brown County State Park is phenomenal. Another one is Marengo Cave.
Yes.
If you've never been to Marengo Cave, and I went, we had some kids living with us from Myanmar, and we were looking for things. We had some exchange students. We've done that many times, and we love doing that. And so that forces us to do things that we normally wouldn't do. And Marengo Cave, now there's a cave in Kentucky called Mammoth Cave, which is big, but it's not pretty. Marengo Cave is gorgeous.
It's crazy.
It's got the stalactites, stalagmites. I don't know what the hell they're called.
Yeah.
But have you ever been?
I haven't. I've been to Mammoth Cave, but I've never been there.
Mammoth is just mammoth.
Yeah.
It's just not real pretty. It's gray. Marengo Cave is just gorgeous.
I mean, it is like you have the oats formed
Where is it
over
at?
tons of. Marengo is in
Southern Indiana.
Crawford County. So down, it would probably be east of Bloomington, east of Jasper, that way.
Okay.
Kind of like down almost towards like the Louisville, Harrison County area. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Correct.
But it's incredible. They have two big loops you can go on in there. It's really cool. I mean, I'm a little bit or a lot of bit claustrophobic at times. So like tight spaces and caves aren't that fun for me. But I really enjoyed my time at
there are some things you can
Marengo.
do to get you wouldn't be claustrophobic if you just do the tour. What I love about the story though is I think it was two kids playing in the yard, and they just find this cave.
Yes,
It's
no,
just there.
They fell into it.
Yeah, just
Blanche Heaston and her brother Oris discovered it. So Blanche heard some local boys talking about a nearby sinkhole. So basically she goes out there with nothing but a candle and, as the legend goes, falls into it with her brother. And that's how they end up discovering this entire cave system down below there.
Wow.
This girl heard the boys talking about it. They were too chicken to go in it. Blanche goes in there, falls in the hole, and someone eventually finds them. And they discover this massive spanning cave.
when was that?
1883.
Nice.
Imagine that, though. It's dark in there. Like,
And it's still the same thing that they found.
it's like, it's pretty dark in there. Imagine like when they turn off all the lights and
Right.
it's just like silence. Imagine falling in there as a 15-year-old kid with your
Right.
brother. I would be
It's
terrified.
like the Goonies.
Oh my gosh, that would be so scary. All right, gentlemen, final question. This is where we source new guests and we learn about other Hoosiers that are doing inspiring things. Ed, we'll start with you. Who's a Hoosier we need to keep on our radar? Someone who's doing big things.
Well, I'm going to get selfish and I'm going to talk about my son, Ben.
Yeah.
So my son, Ben, was a Hoosier. He was from Cherville. He was a musician. He's on Spotify. He left us 11 songs. And whenever you listen to his music, the proceeds go to Centerstone, which is a mental health organization. And if your listeners would give Ben's music a listen, it would mean a lot.
What do I need to search on Spotify to find it?
Ben Schwartzman. And there's a lot of other stories behind it. I won't, get into too much detail, but
Yeah.
we lost him in 2007, but his music still lives on, and we're trying to do something good with his music, and it's working. I'm just want to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible.
I think the new basketball coach at IU is
Oh.
somebody that we need to pay attention to. I mean, a lot of the focus is on Coach Signetti, but I think Coach DeVries is going to do just fine with the program, and that'd probably be one of my Hoosiers to kind of keep an eye on.
Who is the the Sam Houston State guy? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Lamar Wilkerson.
Yeah, Lamar Wilkerson gets signed from Sam Houston State to IU, gets a big NIL check, and then writes over $100,000 check back to Sam Houston State as a thank you for helping develop him. How cool is it? I don't know what all the details and stuff are, but that's the way I read an article about it. And I'm
That's
like,
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, because he gets whatever payday coming here, and he's like, I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity without Sam Houston State, so he writes them a 6-figure check.
I like him. I'm a fan.
You're doing something big, Lamar. There we go. I love it. Gentlemen, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you for coming on and sharing the story that led you down to Bloomington for the first time to get involved with what would later be your ownership stake in BuffaLouie's. I think it's an incredible journey. I do encourage people to go look up your son, Ben, on Spotify. Listen to, you said, he's got an album on there, or multiple albums. We got a whole discography.
Yeah, he's got 11 songs.
Yes, that's incredible.
Thank you.
It's such a fun time. Makes it easy. Obviously, go check out the bagel shop as well down. And there's a new one
In Zionsville.
in Zionsville.
Should be, by the time this show airs, I'm assuming in December,
Yeah.
it should be open.
Heck yeah. Obviously, keep rooting on the Hoosiers, gentlemen. Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Keep rocking things in Carmel. I love having new places to go and visit. And I'm sure that every IU alumni that lives on the north side of Indianapolis likes to, spend a Saturday walking back down memory lane and checking out, obviously, wings, the garlic, the cheese bread. I mean, we know the pro orders now. Gentlemen, keep doing great things. We appreciate y'all. And thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you for allowing us to get in.
There. Cut it there. This show is made possible by our friends up at Sweetwater. Whether you're looking to start a podcast or take your content to the next level, click the link in the description to see all my gear recommendations at Sweetwater. If you want a behind-the-scenes look at everything we're doing across the state, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Nate Spangle. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of what makes the Hoosier State great. We'll see you next time here on Get In.